Welcome back to the Iran War Today briefing. I'm Marian Mashiri, and we're on day 97 of this escalating conflict. If you haven't been following along, buckle up because today's developments are absolutely critical to understanding where this war is heading. Let's jump straight into the biggest story. Hezbollah has officially rejected a renewed ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon. This is huge. Here's what you need to know. Yesterday, the United States brokered new ceasefire talks involving Israel and Lebanon. The Lebanese president called it the last chance for meaningful peace in his country. It seemed like progress, right? The agreement was supposed to renew a truce that was originally agreed back in April. But here's the problem. Hezbollah, Lebanon's most powerful political and military group, has completely rejected the deal. Hezbollah's leader made it crystal clear today, as long as Lebanese towns remain under threat from Israeli strikes, northern Israel will continue to face attacks. They're saying they won't stop firing drones and rockets at Israel unless Israel stops attacking Lebanon. The ceasefire agreement requires Hezbollah to stop all firing and for Israel to withdraw south of the Litani River. But Hezbollah is saying absolutely not. Why is this happening? Because in recent weeks, Israel has occupied southern Lebanon, and IDF troops have been pushing further north into Lebanese territory. Hezbollah views this as an ongoing threat and won't agree to stop their attacks while Israeli military operations continue. Our correspondent John Subworth is on the ground in Beirut, and the situation there is devastating. He's reporting from the Dahir neighborhood, a stronghold of Hezbollah support. The destruction is visible everywhere. There are 5- or 6-story apartment buildings that have been completely brought down by Israeli airstrikes. And if you listen carefully, you can still hear Israeli surveillance drones in the skies overhead. These drones have been flying over Lebanese territory every single day for months. Subworth describes this ceasefire deal as something being worked out more in hope than in expectation. For the Israelis, the skepticism comes from a fundamental problem. The ceasefire is contingent on Hezbollah stopping their rocket and drone attacks. After months of war, that's an incredibly difficult condition to meet. But wait, there's more complexity here. Let's look at the Israeli perspective. In Israel, the reaction to the ceasefire announcement has been mixed at best. According to reports from Israeli media, the Israeli cabinet is set to meet to discuss the agreement. Some ministers are already expressing opposition, wanting clarification on how this will actually work. Specifically, they want to know how the Lebanese army, which is supposed to take over positions currently held by Hezbollah, will ensure security for northern Israel. That's the key concern for both the Israeli public and government. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, said today that military operations by Israel in southern Lebanon will continue. There will be no withdrawal from those positions as things stand right now. This directly contradicts the ceasefire terms. On the far right of Israeli politics, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir has issued a fiery statement calling the ceasefire idea a pipe dream. He's essentially saying this agreement won't work. But here's where it gets even more political. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu previously promised that this time, unlike past conflicts with Hezbollah, he would ensure Hezbollah is completely eliminated as a threat. He said Israel's goal was to halt Hezbollah's ability to attack Israel completely. Now, with this ceasefire, many Israelis and the opposition are saying Netanyahu hasn't delivered on that promise. They're saying the ceasefire is just a wish and a prayer, not a real solution. There have even been small protests outside Netanyahu's party headquarters. Families of reservists, bereaved families, and soldiers currently serving in Lebanon are expressing their concerns. They want a ceasefire to hold, but they don't want another Lebanese quagmire like Israel experienced in the late 1990s. So on both sides, there's skepticism. The communities in northern Israel don't feel their problems have ended, and Hezbollah is rejecting the agreement outright. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. The United States has been involved in these negotiations, and President Donald Trump has been pushing for a deal. But here's where things get really interesting. Trump has suggested that Iran's new supreme leader, who hasn't been seen in public since the start of the war, is now playing a role in negotiations. Trump is also saying he wants to separate the U.S.-Iran deal from the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire. He's saying these are two different issues and should be handled separately. But is that realistic? Let's hear from Siavash Agalan from BBC Persian, who's been covering Iran's perspective on these negotiations. Agalan says it's unlikely Iran will accept separating these two issues. Here's why. Iran can't be seen as going soft on the Lebanon conflict. Hezbollah is Iran's main ally in the region, and abandoning them would be politically devastating for Iran's leadership. According to Iranian negotiators, they've been seeking an end to the Israel-Lebanon conflict as part of any deal with the United States. Moreover, there's a memorandum of understanding being discussed that would apply a ceasefire to all regions in the Middle East. A violation in one region would be considered a violation of the entire agreement. So Iran sees these issues as completely interconnected. Agalan also mentions that the IRGC, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, issued a threat just 4 days ago. They warned that if Israel continues its attacks in Lebanon, Iran might fire missiles again at northern Israel. They even warned residents of northern Israel to evacuate. While they didn't follow through on this threat, it shows how seriously Iran views the Hezbollah situation. As for the Supreme Leader's involvement in negotiations, Agalan explains that while we don't know for certain, there have been media reports suggesting he's become much more involved. The reason he hasn't been seen in public isn't necessarily because he's incapacitated, rather there's a security concern. Iran's leadership is worried that any recent photo or image of the Supreme Leader could be tracked by Israel or the United States and used to target him. This reflects the deep level of mistrust and skepticism in Iran about American and Israeli intentions. When the U.S. talks about the need to achieve an agreement quickly, Iran interprets this as an attempt to force them to expedite communications, potentially revealing their locations so that Israeli or American forces could decapitate the leadership. Now let's shift to developments in Washington. Donald Trump has attacked a group of Republican lawmakers for backing a Democrat-led vote in the U.S. House of Representatives. This vote was designed to force the withdrawal of U.S. forces from around Iran or require congressional approval to continue operations. Trump posted on Truth Social, calling the move unpatriotic and saying those who voted for it should be ashamed of themselves. But how much could this actually limit U.S. operations in Iran? According to our chief North America correspondent, Gary Oden, not a lot. This is what he describes as a somewhat performative vote in the House of Representatives. While Democrats would reject the characterization, the chances of this resolution passing both the House and Senate without being vetoed by the president are extremely slim. Trump could simply veto it, and there wouldn't be a two-thirds majority in both chambers to overturn that veto. However, Oden points out something important. This vote is a sign of things to come. It indicates that increasing numbers of Republicans, even some who haven't been traditional critics of Trump, are starting to flex their muscles on issues like Iran. This suggests they might be looking toward the end of Trump's presidency and considering their own political futures. So here's what we're seeing on day 97 of this conflict. 1. Hezbollah has completely rejected the ceasefire deal, saying they won't stop attacks as long as Israel continues operations in Lebanon. 2. Israel's defense minister says Israeli military operations will continue, contradicting the ceasefire terms. 3. On both sides, there's skepticism that this ceasefire will hold or actually solve the underlying problems. 4. Iran views the Israel-Lebanon conflict as inseparable from any U.S.-Iran negotiations, contrary to Trump's desire to separate them. 5. There are deep security concerns and mistrust on all sides about the intentions of the other parties. 6. Even within the U.S., there's growing pushback from some Republicans about continued military involvement in the region. The situation remains extremely volatile. A ceasefire that's been rejected by one of the main parties involved isn't really a ceasefire at all. Without Hezbollah's agreement, without Israeli commitment to withdraw, and without resolution of the underlying issues, we're looking at continued military operations and potential escalation. The next 24 to 48 hours will be critical. Watch for Israeli cabinet meetings, further statements from Hezbollah leadership, and any response from Iran. This situation could deteriorate rapidly, or, against the odds, some breakthrough could emerge. The communities in northern Israel and southern Lebanon are caught in the middle, hoping for peace, but not seeing clear signs that it's coming anytime soon. This is the Iran War Today briefing. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest developments. Thank you for staying informed on this critical global situation.